The Galactic Council chamber was unusually silent that day. Representatives from hundreds of species hovered in their assigned platforms, each waiting for the announcement that would decide the fate of the universe. Normally, meetings of the Council were formal and polite, but today, a tense energy hummed through the air. The holographic podium flickered, and a tall, golden-skinned official named Chrysalon stepped forward. "Citizens of the galaxy," Chrysalon's voice echoed. Firm and cold, after much deliberation, the Council has made a final decision. Effective immediately, humans are banned from all official military operations and galactic conflicts. A collective gasp rippled through the chamber. Aliens with 4 eyes blinked in disbelief. Tentacled representatives recoiled, as if they had been slapped. Even the normally stoic reptilian delegates of SCIFI-Prime hissed in confusion. "Excuse me?" shouted a small blue-skinned alien from the outer colonies. "Humans. They are weaker than most species. They can barely survive in zero gravity, and their physical strength is far below even the average Zetherian soldier. Why are they banned?" Chrysalon's face remained expressionless. "The decision is final. The reasons are confidential, and no further discussion will be entertained." Whispers filled the chamber like the rustle of alien leaves. No one understood. Humans were known across the galaxy as clever and resilient, but nothing had indicated that they were dangerous or disruptive. In fact, most species considered humans helpful, sometimes even comical, in their naive bravery. Yet the Council's ban made no sense. Outside the chamber, among the millions of stars and ships orbiting distant planets, one alien historian felt his curiosity ignite. His name was Rivik, a scholar from the watery world of Orlith. His eyes glowed faintly in the dim light of his archive chamber as he sifted through centuries of digital records. Rivik had dedicated his life to studying the histories of alien warfare and human involvement in galactic events. In this decision, this inexplicable ban, pushed him into a corner he could not ignore. "Humans banned?" Revok murmured, scanning the latest broadcast logs. "It makes no sense. There has to be something. Something we are not being told." Revok's workspace was a small dome perched atop Orlith's ocean city. Holographic screens floated around him, displaying records from countless planets. He searched for any mention of humans in conflict. Most records were routine, humans serving as peacekeepers, explorers, scientists, and sometimes as pilots in minor skirmishes. Nothing extraordinary, but then buried deep within the Council archives, Rivik found something unusual. A folder marked classified. "Human engagement do not release" pulsed faintly on the screen. It was protected by multiple encryption layers, normally impenetrable, but Rivak's skill with ancient decryption tools allowed him to bypass them one by one. The folder contained records from decades ago. About a battle few remembered were allowed to remember the siege of Narion 6. Rivik leaned forward, his eyes scanning the first entries. The planet of Narion 6 was a small mineral-rich world located on the edge of galactic space. The Drexian swarm, a relentless species of hive-minded conquerors, had attacked it, overwhelming the planet's defenses. The reports from the time described a disaster: entire fleets destroyed, colonies burned, and millions of lives at risk. Yet there was a note attached. Humans were involved. The logs detailed a tiny human squadron called Unit Helios. They had arrived when the planet was already surrounded, outnumbered 100 to 1. Alien forces from 5 other species had already attempted defense and failed. The humans, it seemed, had no reason to succeed, yet the logs hinted that they did. Rivak's tentacles trembled as he read the account. The first human entry described their initial arrival. Scouts entering the devastated city of Vartek. Civilians were trapped in burning buildings, and alien soldiers were retreating under Drexian fire. The humans did not pause. They ran toward danger. They carried the wounded, reorganized scattered defenses, and improvised weapons from scrap materials. By the second day, the log became almost unbelievable. Humans had organized an entirely new fighting strategy, adapting instantly to the enemy's movements. Where other species relied on predictable formations, humans fought in ways the Drexians could not anticipate. They ran into open fields to draw enemy fire, used decoys and false retreats, and turned collapsing buildings into defensive strongholds. Rivak felt his heart beat faster. None of the galaxy's advanced species had ever adapted this quickly in real-time battle. Even elite alien generals struggled with such improvisation. The most shocking part came from eyewitness reports. Drexian drones, typically cold and mechanical in thought, had refused to continue attacks. The log noted, Drexian swarm retreated. Unknown cause. Humans did not surrender. Humans did not fear. Humans. Chaos. Rivik reread the line several times. The Drexians, conquerors of thousands of planets, had retreated from a small human force. The galaxy had feared the swarm for centuries, and now, humans mere mortals had forced them to flee. It became clear why the Council had acted. Humans were not dangerous to the galaxy's inhabitants. They were dangerous to the galaxy's enemies. They fought with no self-preservation, no hesitation, no fear of death or loss. Their unpredictability made them the ultimate threat to the Drexian swarm, and in the Council's mind, this could trigger consequences no species wanted to face. Rivak's mind raced. If this was true, then humans were banned not because of weakness, but because of their extraordinary ability. They were too powerful in ways the galaxy could barely comprehend. Suddenly, an alert flashed across Rivak's console. Security protocols had detected unauthorized access to the classified file. The Council was aware that someone had discovered the secret. Rivak cursed under his breath. He knew he had only moments to preserve the records. Carefully, he downloaded the files onto a secure, portable drive shaped like a glowing crystal. He tucked it into his robes and slipped out of his archive. Heading toward the lower levels of the city, the corridors were silent, filled with the echoes of his own cautious steps. Outside, Orlith's ocean moons glimmered in the night sky. Rivak paused, looking at the horizon. If this information reached the public, it would shake the galaxy to its core. It could change the way species viewed humans forever. But Rivak also knew the risk. If the Council caught him, they would likely execute him to ensure the truth remained hidden. And yet, he could not ignore what he had discovered. He had to know more. He had to understand why humans ordinary in appearance but extraordinary in action were considered such a threat. He boarded his small vessel, a sleek craft designed for both speed and stealth. As the engines hummed to life, he accessed the second part of the file. More logs, more reports, more stories of heroism that had been erased from public memory. Human pilots who guided alien fleets through deadly asteroid fields. Engineers who repaired ships under enemy fire. Soldiers who shielded civilians from annihilation. Even when it meant their own deaths. Rivak realized one thing. The Council's decision was not a punishment. It was a protective measure. Protective not for humans, but for the rest of the galaxy. Humans were not just warriors. They were chaotic, unstoppable, selfless forces that no species could control. As his ship exited Orlith's orbit, Rivak set a course for the galactic core, determined to dig deeper. He needed to find anyone who could explain the Council's reasoning. Someone, somewhere, must know the full story of Unit Helios and the siege of Nerion 6. Meanwhile, in the Council chambers, Chrysalin stared at the blank communications screen. "We must ensure the humans remain unaware of their true threat," he said quietly to no one in particular. "If they learn what they did, they will fight again. We are not ready for that war." Across the galaxy, stars glittered in the void, oblivious to the secrets hidden among them. On one small planet, a lone alien historian began a journey that could reveal the greatest truth the galaxy had ever tried to hide. The real reason humans were banned from galactic war. Rivik did not yet know what he would find. But he was certain of one thing: humans were extraordinary, and the galaxy had never truly understood them. And somewhere, far away, in a quiet human settlement, soldiers trained unaware that their courage had already changed the course of history. The Council had hoped no one would remember, but Rivak remembered. Rivak's vessel slipped through the inky darkness of space. Distant stars streaking past as he charted a course toward the outer archives. A secret repository of military history hidden in the spiral arms of the galaxy. His mind raced. The files he carried were explosive information the Council had kept buried for decades. They told a story the galaxy had forgotten, a story of bravery, selflessness, and a form of courage that no other species could match. Once inside the outer archives, Rivak set his ship down in a secluded docking bay. The bay was silent, filled with the hum of computers and the soft glow of holographic terminals. Here, the galaxy's forbidden histories were preserved, including classified records of battles long erased from official memory. Rivak connected the glowing crystal drive from Orlith to the terminal. The files opened, revealing an entire human operation few alive had ever known. The log began with the siege of Nerion 6, a planet already on the brink of collapse. The Drexian swarm, a merciless species known for consuming entire civilizations, had attacked with overwhelming numbers. Millions of Drexian drones swept across the planet's surface, annihilating cities, and alien defense forces crumbled under the relentless assault. Hundreds of Allied fleets attempted to stop them. The log read, all failed. Nerion 6 was considered lost, and then came the humans. Unit Helios, barely 200 soldiers in number, had arrived at dawn. They were outnumbered 100 to 1. Their ships were smaller, their weapons fewer, and their armor less advanced than most alien soldiers. But the logs did not focus on these weaknesses. They focused on what the humans did next. The first reports described humans running straight into danger. While alien soldiers retreated to fortified positions, humans ran toward burning cities, lifting civilians from rubble and directing scattered troops to regroup. They carried civilians on their backs through streets filled with fire and debris. One human, named Lieutenant Mara Jensen, was noted for leading a small team through a collapsing bridge. So while enemy fire rained from above, the logs recorded alien witnesses' astonishment. The humans did not appear afraid. Even when structures collapsed around them, they continued their mission. When other species would have panicked or hesitated, humans improvised by the second day of the siege. The logs revealed something even stranger. Humans were inventing tactics on the battlefield. They observed the movements of the Drexian drones and predicted their attacks, not through calculation, but seemingly instinct. Humans created decoys using wreckage, lured enemy forces into traps, and used simple terrain advantages in ways alien generals had never considered. One particularly shocking entry detailed an event in Vartex City. Drexian drones had surrounded a human squad on 3 sides. Conventional strategy would have called for retreat or surrender, but instead, the humans created an illusion of escape routes, misleading the drones into narrow alleys. Their humans set up temporary barricades and ambushed the enemy with improvised weapons. The log read, Drexian swarms suffered significant losses. Humans were unharmed. Unknown strategy. Observers report disbelief. Rivak leaned closer, tentacles gripping the edge of his chair. He could hardly believe what he was reading. The Drexians, a species considered unstoppable, had faltered before humans. Not because of numbers, not because of advanced technology, but because humans fought differently. They did not follow predictable patterns. They did not fear death. They adapted. The logs also recorded acts of selflessness. Humans repeatedly risked their lives to save civilians who were not human. One report described a young engineer, Kai Morgan, who carried an alien child out of a burning building, ignoring warnings from his own squad. Another described a group of soldiers forming a human shield around a crowd of civilians while the Drexians attacked, taking blows that would have killed most other species instantly. The most shocking revelation came from the Drexians themselves. Observers from allied species reported that the Drexian swarm retreated the only time in history they had ever retreated from a planet. The log contained a transcript of a captured Drexian drone which had recorded humans. Unpredictable. Human chaos disrupts swarm logic. Retreat. Retreat immediately. Rivak felt a shiver run through him. He understood now why the Council had acted. Humans were not banned for weakness. They were banned because they were uncontrollable forces. Their courage, their ingenuity, their refusal to yield even when facing impossible odds was terrifying. to anyone who relied on logic and predictable behavior. The logs went on to describe the final battle for Narian 6. Human soldiers had organized a defense line across the shattered city of Vartek. Coordinating with alien units that had fled before, they repaired destroyed machinery under fire, guided civilian transports through the ruins, and used guerrilla tactics that no other species could execute effectively. One entry described Lieutenant Mara Jensen again, this time standing on the top of a crumbling tower as Drexian drones advanced below. Using nothing but scraps of metal and some energy emitters, she created a series of false targets, tricking the enemy into destroying their own formations. Her squad then advanced, eliminating the remaining forces systematically. By the end of the siege, the planet was scarred and broken, but it survived. Millions of lives had been saved. The Drexians had fled, their forces shattered in a way the galaxy had never seen. And the humans? They had lost dozens of their own, but they did not hesitate. They had not fought for glory, nor for conquest. They had fought to protect others. Rivak's eyes widened as he read the final summary. The Council's records were blunt. Humans displayed a level of bravery and adaptability that no species has achieved. They act with unpredictability and chaos that renders traditional enemy forces ineffective. They are a threat not to our allies, but to galactic stability. Humans must not be deployed in future wars. It was finally clear. The Council did not ban humans because they were weak or reckless. They banned them because humans were too effective, too unstoppable. If humans joined another galactic war, the Drexians or other enemies might escalate to galaxy-ending strategies. The Council had chosen caution over potential victory. Rivak sat back, stunned. He realized the magnitude of what he had uncovered. Humans were not just another species. They were an anomaly, a species whose courage could turn impossible situations into victories. Their bravery was unmatched, their adaptability unimaginable, and their selflessness legendary. And yet, the humans themselves were unaware of how much they terrified the galaxy. Most had trained for peacekeeping, for exploration, for defending those in need, but none had been told that their actions had forced a species of conquerors to retreat for the first time in recorded history. Rivak understood the Council's fear. If humans learned the full truth, they would not remain passive. They would fight wherever injustice occurred, no matter the odds. The Drexians, or any other enemy, could face total defeat or escalate to weapons that could destroy entire systems. For hours, Rivak continued to read through the logs. Each story, each act of courage reinforced a simple truth. Humans were unlike any other species. They did not follow rules of warfare or logic in the same way. They were unpredictable, resilient, and astonishingly selfless. Finally, Rivak leaned back and closed his eyes. The weight of knowledge pressed on him. He had discovered the real reason humans were banned from galactic war. They were the galaxy's hidden trump card, a force so powerful that others feared its consequences more than any enemy. But Rivak also knew. He could not keep this secret to himself. The galaxy had to understand what humans were capable of, not to provoke fear, but to inspire respect. If the Council learned that he had accessed these records, they would hunt him relentlessly. He had to move carefully. Rivak stored the files in multiple secure drives, scattering copies in hidden locations throughout the outer archives. He needed allies who could help him interpret the records and, if necessary, reveal the truth. His next step was to find someone who had survived the siege of Narian 6, an alien witness who could confirm the records firsthand as he prepared to depart. Rivak felt a mixture of excitement and dread. The galaxy's understanding of humans had been built on assumptions, on underestimations, on ignorance. Now, the truth was beginning to emerge. And it was more astonishing than anyone could have imagined. Somewhere, far away, humans trained quietly, unaware of the legacy they had left behind. They had never sought glory, never asked for recognition. Yet their courage had changed the course of history. The galaxy's enemies had learned fear in a way no one else could teach. And the Council had acted to protect the fragile balance of power, hoping that humans would remain unaware of their true potential. Rivak's ship glided into hyperspace. carrying secrets that could shake the galaxy to its foundations. He thought about the files, about the human soldiers, about the courage that no species could match, and he knew that the next step would be the most dangerous yet, finding the witnesses who could confirm the truth, and ensuring that the galaxy finally understood what humans had done, because what humans did on Arian 6 was not just bravery. It was something more, something that no alien species had ever achieved, and the galaxy had banned them not to punish them. But because no one could control what humans were capable of, Rivak stared out into the infinite stars. The Rivak ship sailed silently through hyperspace, the stars stretching into long streaks of light as he traveled deeper into the uncharted sectors of the galaxy. The logs from Narian 6 haunted him. He had read every detail, every strategy humans had invented on the battlefield. Every life they had saved, every act of courage that no alien species could have matched. And yet, the deeper he dug, the more he realized the galaxy's fear of humans ran far deeper than anyone had admitted. He arrived at the remote research station of GalacticPrime, a small water-covered planet known for its archives of alien warfare and military intelligence. It was here that survivors of ancient battles sometimes retired to record their experiences. Rivak's hope was simple: find someone who had witnessed the siege of Narian 6 and could confirm the truth about Unit Helios. The station was quiet, almost empty, save for a few alien scholars and retired officers. Rivak accessed the records and cross-referenced every survivor report he could find. Finally, he found a name: Commander Thalric, a veteran of the Drexian conflicts who had narrowly escaped Narian 6. According to the logs, Thalric had been one of the few alien officers who had observed Unit Helios directly. Rivak requested a meeting through secure channels. Within hours, Thalric appeared, a towering figure with scales that shimmered in shades of green and bronze. His eyes, sharp and cautious, studied Rivak carefully. "You're the one who accessed the old records," Thalric said, his voice low and gravelly. "They should have been left alone. The Council buried them for a reason." "I know," Rivak replied, keeping his tone calm. "But the galaxy deserves to know what humans did at Narian 6. You saw it yourself, Commander. Tell me the truth. Why did the Drexians retreat?" Thalric's gaze darkened, and he sank into a chair. For a long moment, he said nothing. Then he spoke, his voice heavy with memory. "Humans are different," he began. "I've fought alongside many species, trained with the best of the galaxy. But humans, they do not fight like anyone else. They do not fear death, they do not surrender, and they do not follow predictable patterns. They improvise, they adapt, they make choices no algorithm could predict." Rivak leaned forward. "So, the Council's fear. It's because humans are uncontrollable." Thalric nodded slowly. "Exactly. I watched Lieutenant Mara Jensen lead a squad through what should have been certain death. She laughed in the face of artillery fire. She saved soldiers who weren't even her species. And the Drexian drones, they faltered. Their hive logic, their coordination, all of it. They had never, ever retreated before that day." Rivak felt chills run down his spine. Humans had not just fought, they had altered the behavior of the galaxy's most fearsome enemies. And the Drexians, a species that had consumed entire civilizations, had recognized humans as a threat unlike any other. Thalric continued. "After the siege, the Drexian High Mind recorded a directive: avoid engagement with humans. Their unpredictability disrupts swarm logic. Retreat, if encountered. That is the only time in history a species forced a retreat of the entire swarm without advanced weapons or superior numbers. Humans, they terrify our enemies simply by being human." Rivak tried to imagine it. The Drexians, unstoppable for centuries, terrified of mere mortals. "And the Council?" he asked. "They knew this?" "Yes," Thalric replied. "They realized that if humans participated in future wars, the Drexian Zor, any similar enemy, would escalate to galaxy-ending strategies. The Council decided that banning humans from war was the safest option for the galaxy. They were not weak, not reckless. They were too strong in ways no one else could match. Too chaotic, too. Human Rivak's mind swirled with understanding. Humans were not a threat to their allies. They were a threat to the galaxy itself. Not because of aggression, but because their courage and adaptability were unmatched. The Council had hidden this truth for decades. Fearing what would happen if humans realized the full extent of their own power. Did the humans know? Rivak asked. Thalric shook his head. Not entirely. Some may have understood their impact, but most believed they were only doing what was right. That is why they are so extraordinary. They never seek glory, yet their actions inspire fear and respect alike. They fight for others, not themselves. They risk everything for strangers, for species they barely know. And that terrifies the Council. They know humans cannot be controlled or commanded like other species. Rivak's thoughts raced. He realized why every alien species had underestimated humans for centuries. Outwardly, humans were weak, fragile, and flawed. But their spirit, their courage, ingenuity, and selflessness was a force that no technology, no army, and no strategy could contain. He asked Thalric. Do you think humans would fight again if they knew the truth? The alien commander's eyes narrowed. Without a doubt, they will fight wherever they see injustice. They will fight even when the odds are hopeless. They will fight even when we tell them to stand down. That is why the Council fears them. The galaxy cannot contain their courage, and any enemy that encounters it will be destroyed or retaliate with weapons we cannot predict. Rivak understood now. The ban on humans was not punishment. It was prevention. Prevention of an uncontrollable escalation. Humans had fought with such courage and brilliance that their very participation in a war could trigger galaxy-altering consequences. Then the truth must be told, Rivak said. The galaxy should know what humans are capable of, not to fear them, but to respect them. They have saved countless lives already. The Council cannot hide their heroism forever. Thalric hesitated, then nodded. Be careful, Rivak. The Council will not forgive the revelation of these files. They buried the truth for a reason. You are risking everything by pursuing it, Rivak understood. Yet the truth burned too brightly in his mind to ignore. He spent days in the archives organizing every report, every eyewitness account, every file detailing human bravery, strategy, and selflessness. The more he read, the more he understood why humans were banned. Their courage was both their power and a danger to the galaxy's fragile balance. One record stood out above the rest. It described the final moments of the siege of Narion 6. Humans had been surrounded, outnumbered and running low on supplies. The Drexians had launched a concentrated assault that should have wiped out Unit Helios. But the humans did not falter. They coordinated with alien forces, used collapsed buildings for cover, and even turned destroyed vehicles into weapons. Their tactics were improvisational genius. Their courage inspired allied soldiers to fight beyond their limits. The logs concluded with a single, chilling line. The siege of Narion 6 is the first and only recorded instance where a smaller, outnumbered force forced the Drexian swarm to retreat voluntarily. Humans displayed a level of unpredictability and bravery unparalleled in galactic history. Rivak stared at the screen in awe. This was the truth the Council had tried to erase. Humans were not just participants in war, they were game changers, capable of turning hopeless situations into victories, and capable of terrifying even the galaxy's most feared enemies. As he prepared to leave DEATHWORLD, Rivak realized that this knowledge carried immense responsibility. The galaxy needed to know the truth, but revealing it could provoke panic, awe, or even hostility. Yet hiding it was a betrayal of history. Humans had fought and sacrificed for countless lives, and the galaxy deserved to understand their courage. Rivak set his ship on a course back to the core worlds, where communication networks were strongest. He would begin spreading the knowledge, carefully, piece by piece, ensuring that every species understood why humans were banned. Not because they were weak, not because they were reckless, but because they were unpredictable, selfless, and unstoppable in somewhere. Light years away, humans continued their quiet lives. Unaware of the fear and respect their actions had inspired across the stars, they trained, explored, and helped others, not for fame, not for glory, but because it was in their nature. And that nature, Rivak realized, was the most extraordinary force in the galaxy. The story of human bravery, its unpredictability, and selflessness was about to change the galaxy forever. Rivak's ship glided silently through hyperspace, carrying the records of human heroism across thousands of light years. Each file he had collected detailed acts of courage, selflessness, and brilliance that no other species could match. His mission was clear. The galaxy needed to know the truth about humans not as conquerors, but as extraordinary protectors capable of feats beyond imagination. The first step was simple in theory, but dangerous in practice. Rivak transmitted the files to secure channels, contacting journalists, historians, and retired officers from multiple star systems. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Screens across the galaxy flickered with shocking revelations. Humans had forced the Drexian swarm to retreat, saved millions of lives, and executed strategies that alien species could barely comprehend. Some species reacted with disbelief. Many said it could not be true that humans were too weak, too fragile, too ordinary to have accomplished such feats. But eyewitness accounts, battle logs, and surviving Drexian recordings proved otherwise. Others reacted with admiration. Star systems that had previously dismissed humans as unremarkable now celebrated them as heroes. Statues, holograms, and monuments were erected in human honor in cities across dozens of planets. Children learned for the first time how humans had changed the course of galactic history through courage alone, and the Council, they panicked. Chrysalon and the other officials convened an emergency meeting. "This cannot happen," Chrysalon shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. Humans were banned to prevent chaos. Now the entire galaxy knows their true potential. They will demand to participate in conflicts, and the Drexians, or worse, will retaliate. A young delegate spoke up, her voice trembling. "But Chancellor, shouldn't the galaxy know the truth? Humans saved entire planets. They risked their lives for species they did not even know. This is not a threat. It is an example. They show what courage truly is." Chrysalon's face darkened. "You underestimate them. Humans fight without fear, without logic, without surrender. They are unpredictable. If they return to war, no species including Iskin controlled them. The Drexians have already learned to fear them. Others may escalate weapons that could destroy entire systems." Meanwhile, Rivak had returned to Orlith. He met with other historians, military analysts, and alien veterans to compile the full story. The more he shared, the more astonishing the reactions became. One alien general whispered, "Humans. They are not soldiers. They are chaos incarnate. They fight with bravery, but in ways we cannot anticipate. No strategy can predict them. No weapon can stop them once they decide to act." Across the galaxy, humans themselves reacted with surprise. Most had trained as explorers, scientists, or peacekeepers. They had no idea that their actions decades ago had been so influential. When they learned the truth, many felt a quiet humility. They had not fought for glory. They had fought to save lives. And yet the galaxy now saw them as the ultimate protectors. A species whose courage could alter the balance of power. But not all reactions were peaceful. Some species worried about the consequences. The Drexian swarm, having observed the transmissions, issued a warning across all communication channels. If humans are deployed in conflict, the swarm will awaken fully. Prepare accordingly. Humans are unpredictable. Humans are dangerous. Rivak paused, feeling the weight of this declaration. The Council had feared this outcome for decades. The galaxy now faced a choice: honor humans' heroism while risking Drexian retaliation, or continue to hide the truth and live in ignorance. In the midst of this chaos, a human fleet, led by descendants of Unit Helios, received Rivak's transmissions. Their leaders convened and realized something extraordinary. The galaxy had finally recognized what humans had always known instinctively, that courage, selflessness, and adaptability could overcome any challenge. No matter how hopeless, the humans did not celebrate. They prepared quietly, understanding that their duty was not to seek glory, but to protect life wherever it was threatened. They trained, coordinated, and prepared contingency plans for potential Drexian attacks. For them, heroism was action, not recognition. Back in the council chambers, debates raged. Some delegates argued for continued human exclusion from warfare to prevent escalation. Others argued for cooperation, insisting that humans could act as the galaxy's ultimate safeguard against threats like the Drexians. Finally, after days of tense discussion, the council reached a compromise. Humans would not be forced to join wars, but they would be recognized officially as protectors of the galaxy, free to act wherever injustice or danger appeared. Their autonomy would be respected and their courage celebrated. But the galaxy would also accept the risks inherent in their unpredictability. Rivik watched the council's decision broadcast across multiple systems. For the first time, humans were acknowledged not just for their past heroism, but for their potential to shape the future of the galaxy. Aliens across the stars began to see them differently, not as fragile beings to be underestimated, but as a species capable of acts no other could achieve. Thalric, the alien commander who had witnessed Narian 6 firsthand, contacted Rivik one final time. "You have done well," he said. "The galaxy now understands humans as they truly are. I only hope that they will continue to act with the same courage, and that the Council can learn to trust them." Rivak smiled faintly. "They will. Humans fight not for themselves, not for glory, but for what is right. The galaxy may fear them, but it will also respect them." Across the stars, humans trained quietly, prepared for the challenges the galaxy would face. Some continued exploration, some continued diplomacy, and some prepared for threats that no one else could confront. And the galaxy, now aware of the full truth, waited part in awe, part in fear for the moments when humans would again step forward. The story of human bravery, unpredictability, and selflessness had finally reached the stars. And although the Council had tried to hide it, the galaxy now understood why humans had been banned from war and why, perhaps, they should never be underestimated again. Rivak leaned back in his chair, feeling a quiet satisfaction. The truth was out. The galaxy could not ignore humans any longer. Their courage had changed history, saved lives, and altered the strategies of even the most fearsome enemies. And in the hearts of countless beings, alien and human alike, the legend of humanity's bravery had begun. Somewhere, on distant planets, humans continued to train, to explore, and to protect. They did not fight for recognition. They did not fight for glory. They fought because it was their nature to stand against danger, to save the helpless, and to act with courage when all seemed lost. And that, Rivak realized, was the true reason the galaxy feared them, because no force, no enemy, and no rule could contain the spirit of humanity. The story had begun centuries ago with Unit Helios, continued through countless acts of bravery, and now extended into the future. The galaxy had finally learned the truth. Humans were extraordinary. Humans were unstoppable. And the legend of their courage would shape the destiny of the stars for generations to come.